But the one genre I think that is immune to AI interference is 2D animation. And we'll discuss why. We'll watch this and then we'll react to it. And I think what you can achieve with 2D, things that 2D offers that AI just cannot offer. So here we go. All right. How would you prompt this? There's no prompting this.
Yeah, dude. I mean, again, if you train a model on this, you show it lots of examples of Studio Ghibli and or whatever, Eastern European, Yugoslavian animation or something. You train Laura's on it. Maybe you can get good results. Like, for example, like that Star Wars film I mentioned. That's a complicated AI pipeline, an entire pipeline out of AI models that do little different things. Some do character consistency, others do video generation, yet others do sound, voice generation, and all that you have to put together. And it's a real workflow, so it's possible, but I
I don't
mean,
agree. I
it,
don't agree that it's possible. And here is why. The choices that the animator made here, and watch, this was all made in AI, it'll come up. And I'm totally wrong, but I'm just kidding. No, I can tell because the choices, you and I met animators like this, the choices that they made and the poses that they made and the quick transition from one pose to the other, you have to have experience and an understanding of motion and composition and all that. AI would not understand what just happened on the screen and why it works. AI would like mash it up. In this animation, especially in this style of animation, there's no medium. Like the timing, the pausing, and then the quick burst of one pose to the next, and pausing there. It's all an internal sort of clock and feeling that animators have developed. AI wouldn't be able to read the pixels on the screen and understand why it happened the way it happened.
I hate to break it to you, but AI doesn't understand anything at all, right? It's not a thinking, conscious thing, even when it threatens its engineers with blackmail. Okay, getting a bit philosophical here, but that's not the point. The point is, can it aggregate and compress all this information that it's given and prompt it to generate something novel from it in a very controlled manner? I think it's still an open question. Again, it's an evolving technology, a lot of hype, a lot of hype. Is it going to replace all these pipelines? I'm talking about production pipelines, specifically 3D, very expensive, lots of different software, lots of skills involved. Is it going to replace it? I think the jury's still out. I think that's a more, in terms of our discussion, where we are now. Very recent example. There's news that Netflix is gonna maybe buy Ben Affleck's startup AI VFX company for like some ridiculous amount, hundreds of millions of dollars. But what is that startup actually does? It uses AI in a traditional 3D CG production pipeline where it helps essentially with special effects and post-production. So like color correction, roto masking, maybe like reframes some of the shots. So like you shot something is seen and the director doesn't like it, it doesn't work in the edit, it needs to be reframed, right? It needs to be shot from a different angle. So their models trained on the data of their production of other maybe cinematic content does the reframing, right? Netflix is investing hundreds of millions of dollars in that, not in generating new content. Like, here, users maybe not going to be generating this cartoon, or, studios generating whole superhero films, with AI, but integrating them into existing pipelines. I think that's at least an interesting path that artists should be investigating. I was applying to a AAA game studio, and I got talking to a director there, and I think they use Unreal. They use Unreal. Anyway, we were talking about the implementation. I showed her my reel. I asked what they're looking for, sort of, and she said, you need to have this, you need to have that. Implementation in the engine is a must. Are you using any AI in your workflow? That was her question. I've never been asked that before in my life, professionally, ever. Are you using AI in your workflow? I mean, I use AI in my work. What are you talking about? I use it to script. I use it not only to give me finished Python scripts that I use, but I use it to help me do visual scripting, like node-based systems like Unreal. It's clunky, if I have a technical problem and I ask the professional about it, I probably get a quick answer right there and then what I need to do, once I explained it. But with this thing, I had to run it like 3 or 4 times, iterate, this, I tried this, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. Uh, but eventually I got it. I got it with the assistance of ChatGPT. There's also talk about using them as agents where they would actually model assets for you. You already have cloud-based tools for doing 3D models. I mean, they're not like half decent, But heck, man, I think you can use it for Roblox or Minecraft.
The theme here is there are some hints that the market suggests that the possible direction the creative industry is headed. And just to finish off with the 2D stuff real quick, I've been teaching 2D animation to kids, and they all they need is an iPad and a pen. And just with that hardware, you have an entire Disney studio at your hands. And I understand that Cintiq was out and artists were hand drawing things digitally before, but now you could just go outside and just create an animated movie in the forest with the iPad and a charger, and it's tangible. So there's a melding of real human touch craft and then the digital and the hardware where it's like pen and paper, almost like pen and paper. It's just recently, because you can't take your Cintiq with you. You have to be in the studio, and a 12-year kid is not going to have a Cintiq, but everyone has an iPad now, and all you need is a pen. The technology is in the young generation's hands to begin to learn this art form. When I was teaching these young kids, they picked it up so quick and they're so clever. Basically, what I'm saying is this is like year zero of the new age of technology, of where we're going, where the new generation is going to learn with everything that has come before in the past, and this is the new these are the new tools: AI, Unreal Engine, and even this 2D animation stuff. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that animating in 2D is very efficient. It's not as taxing in time as it was before, because you could undo a copy, morph, transform here and there, this and that. You don't have to draw it every single time. So there's a pace in which you can work with that rivals or even supersedes any AI technology, and you still get that human input. That is where sort of the industry's headed. So for anyone who's young, who is inclined in the arts and art education, and is wondering, what should I study? What should I learn? Is this over? Do I become a plumber or whatever? No, it's just a new era. There are good use cases that studios are going to adopt, but the human touch is just going to be highlighted in a different way than it was before. So we're no longer impressed by major explosions and CGI and all that. We've seen all that. It's in our memory. Now everyone's going to become like a Scorsese now because you have the resources.
I think you're right. I mean, I don't think everyone's going to become Scorsese, but a lot of Scorseses are gonna enter the field and do art that we don't necessarily, even like our generation, necessarily consider as sort of, high animation. Like, for example, again, I wish I had that example here. My kid likes this TikTok channel where just some guy tells stories from his life, some young guy, and he makes these very simple but effective animations, 2D animations, very simple characters, very punchy, sort of a lot of holds, moving holds. It's very sort of motion graphic novel kind of stuff, but it works great, and it probably doesn't take a lot of time to make. And you're absolutely right that, like, accessibility now is open to anyone with a tablet, and 2D animation is so beautiful, so has its own aesthetic that you can't get any other way. All the software that you can use for it is completely free. Like, in fact, I was at my old school, Seneca College, where I studied animation, and they still teach hand-drawn animation, classical, well, not classical, but hand-drawn animation, where you draw your keyframes and then you in between them. But they teach it in Blender, straight in Blender. They even gave up on Harmony Toon Boom because it's too expensive. It's robbery in broad daylight, to pay for their licenses. So they're teaching it in Blender. Barriers to access are gone away, and all it takes is just curiosity, passion, and time. You need to put in time and effort to get anything done.